Hey, listen to Wrestling Up on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MPR. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Hey!
Back to, I can't say live, not super pre-recorded for the first time in, I think, 5 or 6 episodes, just in time to bring you the results from the Royal Rumble. 4 matches on the show, including 2 Rumble matches, which of course we'll leave till last. But that does leave us with 2 title matches to talk at the front of the show. United States Championship, Logan Paul going against Kevin Owens. And a Kevin Owens who came into it on a broken foot after a broken wrist. Dude was pretty beat up.
Yeah, it was a good match. It felt like it was just getting started going when the ending came.
Mm-hmm.
We obviously knew Paul was not going to win the title here, or was going to lose the title here. Because I think we both are in agreement that the guy that is going to beat him was in the other match. I think it did what it needed to do. Unfortunately, I think we're going to lose Kevin Owens for WrestleMania, which is sad because he could have easily had a good match with anybody on the roster and put them over. But
yeah, it's a weird one. I don't know how often Logan Paul is going to wrestle heading into WrestleMania, whether he would have had a match at the Chamber. As you say, it did feel like half a match, which did sort of make me think, especially with the finish as well, right? Are they going to do a rematch at Chamber and then maybe a multi-man or your LA Knight match at WrestleMania? Clearly, whatever was the plan, if Kevin Owens was involved, will now be taken off the table entirely. And so it just sort of leaves him with a big question mark over this win, Kevin Owens, obviously, by disqualification, whatever. And we just move on to the next thing for him, which, I said it, you've hinted at it, LA Knight seems like the go. Will they commit is the different question.
yeah. The fact that LA Knight was in the other match still shocked me a little bit because I think they needed to pull him away from the main event and actually build him up with the title. But they put him, at least he didn't take the fall in the other match. So you can still go from that direction. Just have him be like, I'm tired of Logan Paul being the United States Championship. Yeah, I'm going to be the champion. Yeah.
He just needs to say yeah a few times and he fixes all the problems. There's also, I'm sure we'll get into it, with injuries and with visa issues and other things that are floating around. We're a little potentially limited in our number of chamber matches, so every title match, whether it's for the championship or for a number 1 contendership, or potentially going to find themselves in the chamber in Perth next month. Don't know if we'll see Logan Paul in a chamber, but could be another way to potentially transition LA Knight into his title shot without just needing to say yeah 100 times.
I don't know. I think I could see him maybe defending against some random bloke. Maybe they'll have him defended against some local wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And then LA Knight come out on the SmackDown afterwards and berate him for being so cowardly he couldn't defend it against somebody in the company, and somehow they then Nick Aldis declares LA Knight versus Logan Paul for the title at WrestleMania.
Yeah. Why not? As you said, LA Knight was in that undisputed WWE Universal Championship Fatal 4-Way match. Roman Reigns pinned AJ Styles, with Knight and Orton also in the match. I'm not going to say obvious outcome, but obvious outcome.
Yeah. I hate to break this to certain people out there. Roman Reigns is not losing the title this year.
You're so dead certain on it.
Yeah. If he does lose it this year, it won't be until after September, which means he might lose it at a certain event that we never name.
Yeah, it's the problem, right? There's always going to be a next milestone, a next length of championship that you could do. And
I think once he does get past Hogan, all bets are off.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's making it to at least past Hogan. For God's sake, we're not going 8 years. So I think when we get to the men's Rumble, we have to also talk about something that happened on Raw, and I think it's actually a lot smarter than people are given credit for.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do we got? We'll burst your bubble. We'll talk about the women's Royal Rumble first. And I'm going to run down the entrance. I always run out of breath doing this, but I'll do it. Featuring Natalya, Naomi, Bayley, Candice LeRae, Jordan Grace, Indy Hartwell, Asuka, Ivy Nile, Katana Chance, Bianca Belair, Kairi Sane, Tegan Nox, Caden Carter, Chelsea Green, Piper Niven, Xia Li, Zelina Vega, Maxine Dupree, Nia Jax, Shotzi, Becky Lynch, Alba Fire, Shayna Baszler, Valhalla, Mitch and Zoe Starks, Roxanne Perez, Jade Cargill, Tiffany Stratton, and Liv Morgan.
And R-Truth.
And it did feature him.
This was a phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal Royal Rumble match. Arguably the best out of all the women's Rumbles. It had all the surprises that we could ever hope for. It had people getting their shines, getting their moments. Chelsea Green becoming a grease spot. It had, it had just about everything. It had R-Truth coming out thinking he was entering the Rumble, but it was, and then being confused why it was the Women's Rumble. It had Nia Jax being dominant, as only somebody of that side should be, and it had Naomi returning and it being amazing, and her being there for an hour and getting her flowers for her return. And maybe the biggest surprise, Jordynne Grace from TNA with the championship, something they didn't do last year with Mickie James.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack about this match for sure. The one thing I'd love to just point out before we move on, because it's a bit thing, with R-Truth, is I want to at least give him a point for consistency. He tried to enter number 24 at the Women's Rumble. He was actually number 24 by the time we got over to the Men's Rumble. So he didn't confuse his number, at least. Just the match.
Yeah, twice. R-Truth is a national treasure. Deserves to be Hall of Fame someday. And I hope that what I think's going to happen happens, and he gets a title reign with Miz.
Okay.
But anyway, we've kind of danced around it too. But maybe the biggest moment was Jade Cargill coming out and eliminating Nia Jax by herself.
Mm-hmm.
Easily. And I literally commented in our chat.
Yeah.
Literally seconds before she came out saying, Jade Cargill is going to eliminate Nia Jax.
You did call it. Yeah, I think...
Because it was obvious. At that point, there was only 3 people left that could possibly come out, and we knew Jade Cargill was going to be one of them. And it was the perfect entrant moment to eliminate her just to put her over.
Mm-hmm.
And Jade got a few eliminations, 3 actually, including one using Naomi as a battering ram, which was funny, and then throwing Naomi out. But it was just, and then we got probably the moment we were probably looking forward to most since the Charlotte injury. And that was the stare down from Jade and Bianca.
Yeah, I think when you look at it, Jade only had 11 minutes in the match, but I think all of those 11 minutes were impactful. As you say, 3 eliminations, Nia Jax on her own, Becky Lynch, massive name. Some people had her down as a potential winner coming out of this, and then you're taken out by Jade. Naomi, who had been going for an hour, 2 minutes at that point. these are pretty big names for Jade Cargill to be coming in her debut, taken out, making it to 28th place, third to last, pretty much in that final sequence, as well. Really impressive, as you say, staring down Bianca Belair. If it wasn't going to be Charlotte, Bianca is your woman. And, the visuals are already impressive just from the stare down. You put the sign in the background, the camera angles were perfect. Both of them looked amazing throughout the match. And I look forward to their inevitable collision.
Yeah. Jordan Grace didn't get any eliminations, but she's definitely got her moments in her 20 minutes in the match. She looked just as strong as any other woman that was in the match. And maybe there's some sort of possibility of maybe future working together with TNA and WWE, especially now that TNA is going to be on like a streaming service that's owned by Endeavor.
Yeah, I think this one was the biggest, interesting fact. I think I heard some people, or I guess I read some people typing, Jordan was booked like if she was a WWE Women's Champion. She still looked massively impressive. It took a KOD on the ring apron for Bianca to put her down. 20 minutes is a solid time. And not saying WWE have done horrendous with visiting people, but I think typically WWE hasn't had visiting people from other promotions come in. And obviously you're not going to see an AEW or anything like that when, people start going wild and crazy, but seeing little hints of crossover with Jordan Grace, as you say, holding the physical championship, commentary acknowledging that Jordan beat Naomi for that women's championship in TNA. And we're just starting to get the ball rolling on not, ignoring everything outside of the WWE sphere. And if the cockroach TNA somehow manages to latch itself on to WWE here, I'm not complaining. Their roster has snuck up and really gotten stacked in the last few years. Their product's actually, half decent. They seem to go through waves of looking good and looking not so good, but they're on a pretty big high at the moment.
Yep. I actually have a proposal. Maybe Endeavor buys TNA but keeps it like a separate entity.
Not like ECW.
Yeah, not like ECW. And maybe that way it could be like a second into XT of sorts, where you have an established program, established product, established talent that can develop younger talent that also knows how to work in the style of WWE. Because honestly, TNA's style is a lot like WWE's. So it's a lot plug and play. And you could have NXT evolve further, especially if we're going to do some of the global stuff with NXT. And maybe that way you could still have TNA alive and funded and stuff, but you wouldn't have to worry, is this the month we're going to find out that TNA is out of business?
Yeah, I think this, especially after the rebrand they've just had, and I don't want to spend, all of our show talking about TNA, but after the rebrand, as in going back to a previous brand, they had, I think, this is the moment to watch. Jordan Grace coming up at the Royal Rumble and having the showing she had will most definitely draw some eyeballs to the product, even if it's just to see Grace. My partner was immediately enamored and wanted to know more about this wrestler. It was something to draw attention that way, and if WWE are willing to do more crossovers with TNA, I'm more than willing to watch them. And we'll just have to see how this, I don't know if I want to call it a relationship, but how this pairing between WWE and TNA either evolves or doesn't. But yeah, I guess talking about TNA, Naomi, number 2, making her return to WWE and lasting the length of time she did as well.
Yeah. Naomi had her moment, and I was glad to see her back. I think she'll be a much stronger person in the division this time around than she was last time.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's figured out how to be a star. So yeah, it's something that I'm looking forward to. There's also the possibilities of her being involved in the inevitable Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso match at WrestleMania. In that storyline. I think she's set up to have a massive year, and maybe next year when we get to the Rumble again, we'll be talking about Naomi winning the event.
Yeah, but talking about winners, the woman who beat her by less than a minute in the grand total time in the Royal Rumble, Bayley, 1 hour, 3 minutes and 3 seconds, coming out on top after 7 eliminations, coming in at number 3.
Yeah, including she had 3 or 4 of them right at the end. She had 3 of the last 4 eliminations. But yeah, she was. And my favorite part, besides her winning, she deserved it. My favorite part was every so often she would just go off on Michael Cole. Try to bait him to come in. Like, you want to come in here. And it was just hilarious. It still makes me want to see them at WrestleMania. I still don't know how they would pull that off, but it's something I would still want to see. Part of me also wants to see Bayley on commentary and have to deal with him directly and be all the snide remarks that she could make during commentary would just be fun. Although with the commentator shakeup, that's not going to be that likely anymore unless Bayley does select Rhea Ripley. Yeah. Because Michael Cole's now on Raw. But yeah, it was just fun. Bayley was perfect in her role. She kept things moving. She wasn't just waiting for a spot to happen. She was leading the charge. Kept the spots going, and kept focus on her while she was resting during spots by yelling at Michael Cole. So she's done it all now, and she gets something she's never had before, and that is a singles match at WrestleMania.
Yep. And to celebrate the fact that she gets that, the fact that she won it, all of the facts rolled together, that is going to be our entrance theme this week. It is Bayley's theme. And you're back at Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. We got about 8 or 9 minutes left to go to talk about the men's Royal Rumble match, so I'll quickly run down the entrance. We got Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, Grayson Waller, Andrade, Carmelo Hayes, Shinsuke Nakamura, Santos Escobar, Karrion Kross, Dominic Mysterio, Carlito, Bobby Lashley, Ludwig Kaiser, Austin Theory, Finn Balor, Cody Rhodes, Bronson Reed, Kofi Kingston, Gunther, Ivar, Braun Breaker, Omos, Pat McAfee, JD McDonough, R-Truth, The Miz, Damian Priest, CM Punk, Ricochet, Drew McIntyre, and Sami Zayn.
By the way, I had said I wanted McAfee to return to the WWE during the match. I didn't, so I almost got what I wanted. He came out for commentary before it, and then was in the match. I didn't know he was supposed to be in the match, which is, I think, amazing. That basically this year, Michael Cole got one over on him, because I'm sure Michael knew. But yeah, I love that whole segment for that whole 40 seconds was hilarious. Him getting in the ring, seeing these two massive human beings staring at each other, climbing out, climbing back in, acting like he's going to attack, and then eliminates himself. Oh.
Yeah, he had a quick little comedy spot for himself there. To be fair, in his position, I would not have gone up against those two. I'm good. I'm good, thank you.
Yeah. Especially Omos. Although Braun Breaker is somebody who probably would break me in half just as easily. I mean, it was just this match was, I think, put together pretty well. You had like all the little click spots of people that either had their stories interlined or were similar in nature. Like you had Andrade, Santos Escobar, and Carlito all come out pretty quickly together. You had Karrion Kross and Bobby Lashley come out pretty close together. Uh, you had Austin Theory and Grayson Waller out together at one point. Yeah, Imperium come out pretty much together, and
To be
then
fair,
you had
Gunther coming out just in time to see Ludwig failing.
yeah, and then the Judgment Day was all pretty much all came out almost together. And it was like it was just I think it was a perfect match in terms of how they built little things. Um, from what I have understood, Braun Breaker was giving a role that was reserved for another dominant superstar, and I think he's maximized his 5 minutes
Oh, he
in
hit it
that
out of the
match.
park.
Yeah. Um, it sounds like he's going to be SmackDown. At least he was calling the SmackDown general manager. I am all for that.
We'd been saying he needs a call up for a while.
Yep. Braun is dominant. And Dominic got himself a moment a little bit with eliminating Braun after that big domination that he had in those 5 minutes. Sometimes that's all you need is just a few minutes to be a star, and then you move on to the next person, the next story, and you're off to the races.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of the times, we talk about the people who are in the match for an hour, or in this case, I think Jey Uso was in there for like 50 minutes and 55 seconds. But just as much the people who come in, have an impact, and get out. And Braun accomplished everything he needed to do in 5 minutes. He had 4 dominant eliminations. He looked like an absolute beast. Gets thrown out by Dominic. Is that going to be something going forward? We'll see. Seemingly scores himself a contract. We'll have to wait and see. And yeah, it's as good of a showcase as the main roster really could have given him.
Yeah. Him and Carmella Hayes had like their moments in these matches. And honestly, I think they're going to be major players over the next couple of years. And maybe at WrestleMania like 43, it will be Braun Breaker versus Carmella Hayes for a world title. I would not surprise me at all.
Well, we only got a couple minutes left, so how about we talk about the winner? Cody Rhodes, number 15.
Yeah, we can talk about the last 7 minutes that was like just a tad bit too long. Because it looked like they were trying to outdo what they did last year with Gunther and Cody. It was fine. I'm fine with Cody winning. I wanted Gunther to win. Obviously, I've been saying that for 6 months.
You were close.
Yeah, finished third. CM Punk, I would have been fine with. It's because I've accepted that he's back and stuff, but
now he isn't.
And we found out he got injured during the match. I think it happened on the throwout. I think he might have grabbed the rope or something the wrong way and popped his tricep. But yeah, he's going to be gone 4 to 6 months, which means no WrestleMania match for him, which means we have to go back to the drawing board for whatever Raw's going to do. And Cody Rhodes got a heck of a surprise on Raw when Seth Rollins rolled up and said, "You should challenge me, not Roman." And I actually think that's a good idea. I know everybody wants him to finish the story with Roman, but I already said Roman's not losing this year. So it would just be another loss. It would kill the story because at some point, fans aren't going to care if you can't get it done. But he could win the world title and then create a massive mega heel in Damian Priest. What would be the thing that could get Priest more heat than anything else? Cashing in on a freshly crowned champion, Cody Rhodes, at WrestleMania.
Well, let's leave you with that bombshell. We got plenty more to talk about next week when we come back. Zayn, McIntyre, heaps of stuff. But that will have to wait till next week because we're all out of time. It's been great talking to you.
Baby.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/WrestlingRNDup, our Twitter page, twitter.com/WrestlingRNDup, or our YouTube page, youtube.com/WrestlingRNDup. And we will catch you next week.